So let's go ahead then and get back to everything right now. As we mentioned, we're going to go ahead and do bird watching next. And just to find out, did anybody have any favorite birds that they enjoy looking at or watching out their back window that they can see? Go ahead and put that in the chat. I'd love to hear about that and know about that. And in the meantime, though, we're going to go ahead and have our next presenter coming on, and she's going to go ahead and go through with us about actually bird watching. So Rachel is going to go through all of that information with us today, and we'll go ahead and get recording, and whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right, can everybody hear me? Whoever's on video, you can give a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. And I saw that some people had posted in the chat that there's bald eagles, red-winged blackbirds, blue jays, cardinals. A lot of these are my favorite birds too, and they are native to Pennsylvania. So I saw that also some people had some printouts. Those are great. We will be just doing a presentation. I'll be telling more about bird watching, but if you have printouts and you want to use them after the session, you're welcome to go outside and see some birds. I brought my stuff, so when I go on my lunch break, I brought my binoculars, and I also brought a book, Birds of Pennsylvania, and then I have a piece of paper with all of the birds that kind of look like your checklist that you all had. So that's what I usually carry around with me when I go bird watching. And like I said, I'm probably going to go in about an hour or so when I go for my lunch. But in the meantime, I do have a presentation about bird watching, and I am going to share it right now. All right. Okay, and Brittany, let me know if you can see it.
You're good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to be talking specifically about birding in Pennsylvania. And so we are going to go through the presentation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about bird watching and what that looks like. We'll take a look at some different birds within our state and then get to learn more about them. All right. So what is birding and bird watching? Birding and bird watching are the same. They both mean the classification and observation of wild birds in their natural habitat. So some people will say bird watching, some people will say birding, but they mean the same thing. And I have two pictures of different things that people are doing that count as birding and bird watching. So we have people that have binoculars, like I go out and have binoculars. And then there's also people who have cameras who have specific lenses that can zoom into the birds. So whenever you see a high quality picture where you can see the details of their feathers, they're usually taken with one of these action cameras. So types of birding. There's the backyard birder, which has feeders in their yard and knows most of the species when they visit. A birder who actively seeks, observes, and studies birds and their behavior, and also in their natural environment. There's also casual birders. You see birds, you're interested in them, but you don't do it regularly and you don't know much about them. A bird watcher is where you know most of the birds and many of them and enjoys seeing them when they are around. A citizen scientist, that's someone who's active in bird conservation, counting birds annually, and are in different bird organizations. And then someone who's a professional. So they have a degree in ornithology or in a related science. They could be a professor, a researcher, a guide, but that's someone who is in the professional field. And all of these different types of birders are all classified as birders and bird watchers. So whichever you fit into, whichever category, you can be a mix and match, you can be strictly one category, we're all doing the same thing, which is identifying and observing wild birds in their natural habitat. So how to participate in birding? There are many ways to participate. I mentioned a little bit previously with the different classifications of being a birder. So there's backyard birding. Having a feeder in your backyard is one of the main ways to participate and getting to see the birds from your own windows. And then also being part of wildlife biology or ornithology if you're more of a professional. There's also bird photography, which you saw in the picture with the person who had the camera that was the longer camera that had that action shot. That's bird photography. Bird watching, which is just seeing birds while you're out and about. Bird identification, being able to know what the bird is by seeing them, by listening to them, also knowing about their habitat and characteristics about it. And then also you can do bird art, which can be any type of art that is in relation to birds, whether it's natural art or if you're drawing a picture of what you saw in your backyard. These are just different ways that you can participate in birding. So the two main ways that at least that I was able to get into it that is a good start are research and actively participating. So for research, some recommendations that I have is downloading the Audubon app, which is a free app that you can get on your phones, on your tablets. And what's great about this app is you can track any of the birds that you see and you can track it right into the app. They'll also give you suggestions of other birds in your area, and you'll be able to identify a bird depending on their size, the location where you saw them, their coloring, what time of the year. They have the different sounds for the birds. So by downloading this app, you'll be able to identify quicker because they have a selection screen and you can just select everything that you saw about the bird and they'll be able to bring it up and tell you what bird it is. If you want to do it the old school way, that's buying a book of Pennsylvania state birds, which is the one that I showed you that I have. They do release them yearly because there are updates in it. So mine's about 2 or 3 years old, so it might be a little outdated, but you can buy a book that is essentially what the app does, except that you're able to have a physical copy and flip through it. They categorize it by seasons, by sizes, by location. It has pictures and information about the birds specifically. And also you can watch videos on YouTube of birds. There's a lot of bird watchers and people who engage in birding, and they release videos of what they see in their backyard on their feeders. If they are professionally taking photos, they'll show that. So there's a lot of great videos on YouTube of birds. And you can even, when you go into the search bar, type in Pennsylvania birds, and you'll come up with a bunch of videos of the native birds in our state. And then to participate, you can join a local birding or bird watching group. These are usually part of environmental centers, state parks, or just organizations within your community. They usually go out at certain times of the week and certain days of the week and will help you with birding and bird watching. They'll usually lead a group. You bring your binoculars. They can loan you out binoculars if you have them, and you'll go on a hike and then see what birds that you can see at that time. You can also put up bird feeders around your house, specifically during the winter months when berries and different foods are scarce. During winter is usually when you see a lot of birds at bird feeders because they're hungry. So that is another thing that you can do, is put up bird feeders. I have a couple in my backyard that I fill up during the winter, and I usually keep my binoculars next to the window so that if I pass by and I see any birds at the feeders, I'm able to see them. You can take a walk outside with binoculars to see the birds, and you can also hear birds while you're walking. I know that in the morning I get woken up by a blue jay that likes to scream in the mornings. So you can easily hear birds while you are outside on a walk. Just take a moment to be in one place and try to see what you can see and hear what you can hear. And then you can also log birds that you see that I'd mentioned that you can do that in the Audubon app, the checklist where you can mark off the different birds that you see, or you can also do it in a notebook. The suggestion is if you're tracking birds, it will probably, you should do the date and the time and also the name of the bird if you know it, or you can just write down the characteristics of it. You can also take photos and put that in the notebook as well if you choose to. So for this video, this is actually a couple minutes away from my house here in Pittsburgh, and I've had the opportunity to see these eagles, and they are nesting here for a couple of years in Pittsburgh, which was so exciting to see. So I'm going to show this video, and then Brittany, let me know if you don't hear the audio.
I can't believe that there's eagles in Pittsburgh again. It's just amazing.
These two eagles showed up here in 2013 and people just started flocking down here. It happened at the same time that they opened this section of the trail. So back then there was only a few people here, and hundreds were lining up on their bicycles just to see their first glimpse of an eagle in Pittsburgh. Hi.
Hi.
It had been 100 years since there were eagles in Pittsburgh.
They're monogamous. They'll live about 35 years. Generally, they'll have 1 to 3 babies a year, and these guys have been very successful.
People stop and look, and they've never seen an eagle in their life, and then they come back tomorrow with their camera and their children, and you're not going to have that in other places.
Because I knew this was the spot, and I saw the people here. I love the outdoors, and I love to see the wildlife.
Well, have a good ride.
Okay, thank you.
Hope you get to see them again. Keep your eye to the sky. You never know what's going to fly over your head around here. So.
I've had them fly like 20 feet over my head, and it's just astounding.
They go up.
Up.
It sounds silly, but I just love watching them. I can't get enough.
All right, so in that video, you saw some of the different types of birders that exist. So you saw the people with the cameras that were taking the action shots that are there daily watching these eagles. And you can also go online to see they're called the Hayes Eagles Nest. And there is a live web camera that is constantly on watching them that you can log on and see. You saw that the guy on the bike was just riding down the trail and then stopped to take a look with his binoculars. People bring their children to see, even if they don't have the binoculars. So birding is for everyone, and we are lucky enough to have these eagles that have landed here in Pittsburgh. And there are beautiful, majestic birds all throughout Pennsylvania that you will be able to see and experience as long as you are going outside taking care of the environment and being part of other groups who are doing whatever they can to help all of these birds. Let me just get to the next one.
Ms. Rachel, would you mind being so kind to put the link to that video in the chat?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
Would you like me to do it after the presentation? I can put all my links in there at once.
That sounds good. So guys, just so you know, we will go ahead and share the links to these videos at the end of her presentation.
So the other thing that is part of the bird watching and birding community is banding. So bird banding, as you see in the picture with this little guy over here that has the blue and the red bands on his feet, it helps identify and keep track of individual birds. The scientists put aluminum or color bands on birds' legs. This is completely safe. It does not harm them, so you do not have to worry. And these colored bands have serial numbers that can be scanned later on. And this is to see where the bird migrated towards. So if we're looking at migratory patterns of which birds are heading west, which birds are heading south, north, where are they going, where have they passed? This helps keep track of the population. This helps to keep track of migratory patterns. Banding allows us to be able to track these birds based on the serial numbers on these bands. And this is something that you can actively participate in too. You do not have to be a scientist or researcher. You do have to work with them, but they usually have banding events. Places like the Frick Environmental Center in Pittsburgh and the Powder Mill Nature Reserve in the Laurel Highlands, they participate in bird banding yearly, which during World Bird Migratory Day. So you can take a look to see if there is a place nearby that does have an event for World Bird Migratory Day. You get to learn about birds, you get to do bird watching, and you get to assist with banding some of the birds in order to be able to track them and see where they go. So a few Pennsylvania bird facts. The ruffed grouse, which was on my first slide and you'll see a little bit later on, that's the state bird of Pennsylvania. There are 448 species of birds recorded in Pennsylvania. The biggest bird in Pennsylvania is the bald eagle, which you had saw in the video. The wingspan for females go up to 8 feet. I know we were measuring with crocodiles a little bit earlier, so with a bald eagle, it'd be up to 8 feet for females. And then the smallest bird in Pennsylvania is the calliope hummingbird, which is about 3 inches long. But they also can travel long distances from Canada all the way down to Mexico. While Pennsylvania has no national parks, we have a national forest, 20 state forests, 3 national wildlife refuges, and 121 state parks, which are great places to go bird watching. You can even go to the park's website and pick the park that's closest to you, and they usually have a tab that you can check out with birds that are in those parks. So they usually have their own checklist or their own information on the tab that tells you which birds you would find if you were to go visiting the different forests and state parks. So this is a picture of the ruffed grouse, which is our state bird. And the top spots to bird watch are state parks and local parks, forests and any locations with ample trees, your own backyard, and any elevated space. There is a graveyard near my house that sits on top of the hill. And when you go to the top of the hill, you're able to see down into the trees. So that's a great viewing spot to see any birds. Nature preserves and also a national aviary. So here is my checklist that I have of different backyard birds of Pennsylvania. So these are birds that you would commonly see in your backyard, depending on what time of the day you look at and your location, also the climate as well. So we have the red-winged blackbird, the blue jay, the red-bellied woodpecker, the song sparrow, American robin, downy woodpecker, American crow, mourning dove, gray catbird, house sparrow. But wait, there's more. The common grackle, the European starling, hairy woodpecker, house finch, and you'll see some of the pictures have two different side-by-side pictures, and that's to show you the difference between male and female. So some of the species will look different and have different features depending on if it's male or female. The northern cardinal, which a lot of you had said in the chat that you love. So the male is the red one, the female is the brown one. Common yellowthroat, barn swallow, white-breasted nuthatch, tufted titmouse, northern flicker, Carolina wren, black-capped chickadee, dark-eyed junco, white-throated sparrow, chipping sparrow, American goldfinch, eastern bluebird, house wren, indigo bunting, once again, the two different colorations, depending on if it's male or female, Carolina chickadee. So these are all birds that you would be able to find just going outside, just seeing in your backyard, just going on a walk, getting to see everything. These are birds that are the most common. So these are a few of my favorite birds. These are not my pictures. I don't take pictures of birds. I just like to look at them. But the blue jay is my #1 favorite bird, even though it does scream to wake me up every morning. And then male cardinal, and then grackle, and then a blackbird. I do like the red and the yellow that you see on the wings. So these are all birds that I have seen. A lot of them are in my backyard. I tend to try to keep my backyard more like wildlife friendly. So I don't cut the grass as often. I don't trim a lot of the trees unless I absolutely need to. I keep it as natural as possible. And that way the birds are able to come and feel comfortable in my backyard. And then I also live on top of a hill, which, lucky for me, a lot of birds like to hang out since I am all the way at the top and then the trees go even further up. I once had a whole bunch of grackles come, and the thing about grackles is they come in a huge flock. There will be dozens of them, and once I had looked outside and all of my trees were filled with grackles because a couple came over, thought it was a good spot, called everyone else over, and because they come in huge flocks, they all just came and hung out in my backyard, and it was just all of these blackbirds all over my trees. And then you could also, as you are going outside, you could check on the ground as well. I know we always say to look up when you're looking at birds, but there's also birds that you can see on the ground, or if they might have taken a moment to temporarily be on the ground to search for food. I see a lot of house sparrows on the ground. They like to bathe in dust and dry dirt, so they are usually on the ground. The sparrows like to stay close to the ground. So while you are looking for birds, you can look up, but then you can also look down to see if there are any that are on the ground as well. So I have this video of this person's Pennsylvania backyard birds, and I'm going to play it for you. And the thing about this video is that there are the calls to some of the birds, which I think is really great to know as well, because like I said, it's one thing to be able to see the bird and know what it is by what it looks like, but a lot of the times the birds are not visible and it would take a lot of effort to try to actually see them. So knowing them by call is also important. That way it makes it easier for you to write down what it is without seeing it, to be able to track it. And then also you might hear them, but just might not see them. They might be a bit further up or further away, but just by hearing it, you'll be able to know what it is. So I'm going to play this video, and you're welcome to try to talk about the birds in the chat, try to guess what they are. And then once we're done with the video, then I will be able to share the 2 links with you, and I will answer any questions, and then see if maybe if we have some time, take a moment and see what we see in our backyards. All right. Stop sharing.
Hey, so quick question with anybody. How many of those birds have you seen in your backyard or you think you've heard? All of them. I don't think you've heard all of them, but a few. Alex said none. Two or three. There was a lot of birds that we showed. Do you know how many birds you showed, Miss Rachel?
I think there were about 13, I think is what the video has. The video is actually someone who is a backyard birder in Altoona. And so this was someone from who just took pictures and videos and connected it to the calls from their backyard.
All right. Well, do you have anything else for us, Rachel, that you wanted to share with everybody?
So I was going to answer any questions, and since we have a couple of minutes, if anyone wanted to go outside and maybe see if you have any birds in your backyard right now that you want to take a picture of or come tell us about, you're welcome to do that as well. And I'm going to go ahead and put the links in the chat. And if you want to show your bird, if you have a bird at home, you're welcome to show it on the camera. We'd love to see it.
Well, here's a quick question, and I know it's a little different. How old can eagles live to? Do you happen to know that?
That's a great question. I do not.
I actually posted it earlier for everyone. I can post it again. Let me get that in there. There we go.
So, all right. And look, oh, wow, Carly, what kind of bird is that? And Liam, is that a stuffed bird? Is that a stuffed crow? All right. And you have a cardinal. Wow. Oh, that's so cute. Oh. Anybody else have any pet birds or stuffed birds or a favorite bird?
I don't know about you all, but my favorite summer bird is the flamingo. I wanted to wear these for you guys today, but they're not showing up on the camera. So who else likes flamingos, huh? Look at all those fun birds you guys have.
I'm posting the links right now. So please don't spam the chat.
And peacocks are really cute too. I do like peacocks. And your mom has 3 parrots, Desiree.
3 parrots.
And Des said that she has a flamingo in a game that you play, huh? What is the most craziest bird that you've seen either at the zoo or in your backyard? And Aubrey, your favorite bird is a cockatoo? Okay. And your grandparents have a peacock? Wow. That is crazy. Jovi's seen a wild turkey. Shayna, I don't think the North American pug bird that you should a real bird, but you get an A for effort.
I know for me, when I go to the Pittsburgh Zoo, they always have the peacocks running around freely around the concession area because they want food. So that was wild to me to be sitting and eating French fries and having a peacock next to me wanting my French fries.
Nate said he had a pet fish. The fish bird is not a thing. But, you know, and the pit bull rat terrier bird, don't think that's one either. But I do like pit bulls and rat terriers and fish. So we will do something, I will say later on in chat with where I am going to allow everyone to be able to speak and be able to be on camera. We'll do a little show and tell sometime later on, probably next month. so that way you guys could show off your pets and all that fun stuff. 'Cause I know all of you want to be able to do stuff like that. So if there isn't anything else, and I don't want to cut anybody short, I think we're going to wrap up for today for summer camp. But I do want to tell you guys about what's coming up tomorrow. We are going to go to French Creek Park. How many people here have ever been to French Creek Park? All right, Shayna has been. Carly, you haven't. That's okay. I see some people raising their hands. French Creek Park is a lot of fun. If you've ever been to summer camp before, you'll know that I actually went out there in a canoe and almost fell into the lake, which was not fun. But they have all these different things. And Camp Ranger Jared is going to join us too, live on location at 11 o'clock. And of course, Miss G is going to be having a lesson for us too tomorrow. Miss G, what's the lesson tomorrow about?
Oh, we're going to have some fun tomorrow because we're going to learn about some plants that are in Pennsylvania. So there may be some plants you actually see at French Creek Park. So I don't know, maybe the ranger is going to be talking about some of those, but we're going to learn about a few of them. And then we're going to play a game of bingo, seeing if you guys can find the plants on a virtual tour of a park. So that should be really cool. We'll see how many plants you can spot.